and said, is there any work that I think needs to be done that isn't in here? And one of them is very simple. We hired Pacific Groundwater Group. They developed a very large database. They brought in all the, well, we hired HDR in Pacific Groundwater Group. My apologies, Jay. They put together a database that brought in all the information from previous studies, the fire study and all those other studies. They put it all in one package. They quantified some of the data. They quality controlled some of it. And so they gave us the framework for where we've been in history. And they gave us a framework for where we're going, a way to track our data, water quality data and other things. Well, it's on my computer, okay? We have since done well assessment surveys, so we have another 172 data points. We have data that's continually coming out of EPA on the what I'll just call the dairy cluster. We will continue to gather data. Somebody needs to keep this database up to date, or we're going to be back in 5 years from now. Somebody's going to go, well, didn't they do something back there in 2014? So part of this is simply somebody needs to keep feeding this database. Somebody needs to have ownership of it. I think it's our database, but somebody's got to maintain it. That's part of it. The second part of it is, assuming that's Yakima County, is we have the ability, actually through Lee Murdoch, who quietly introduced herself back in the corner. She maintains a, what do you call
Community development database.
She's got a huge amount of data about Yakima County. She's got a huge amount of data about the whole United States. Now we can begin to overlay on all of this data that we have. Why would we want to do that? Well, I'm thinking a little bit in the future. We said over and over again, I wish there was more we could do for the people that are drinking contaminated water or have that contaminated water, but we're over here building a program. I'm thinking a little bit in the future, we link all this stuff up together. It starts to give us one heck of a tool to start accessing state, federal, and private nonprofit grants to bring money into the area to actually do the public health side of it. That said, I goofed up. $30,000, that's what I think it would cost. I put it in there twice. I meant to put it in there once. So it's really $15,000 and $15,000, not $30,000 and $30,000. Okay, does anybody have any questions about what I'm talking about on that one? Simply data management. Somebody to have the repository of the data. Somebody to be able to cut it out and give it to smart people who knows how to analyze it. Okay, the second one was put in by placeholder. I recognize that in all of our previous discussions long ago, and in our scenario, we developed a groundwater monitoring plan that is still in review. Okay, it was part of our agenda tonight. There's no money anywhere that we set aside. Nobody requested money to do anything with that plan. So all I simply did was to keep it alive so that this group could discuss about it. We didn't lose about it, because I put a placeholder in there that says, hey, once upon a time, we were talking about doing some finalizing the true groundwater monitoring plan and starting to do some implementation of it. And I wanted to keep a placeholder for that. It's not so much. It fell between the cracks, I think, and it's one of those things that I found on the floor and I just put it back in. Stu?
I can understand you. I just a little confused. I look at the very first item, Yakima County Administration Plan or item plan coordination, and then down at the placeholder planning, analysis, implementation. Is there some overlap there between those two?
Where are you? I'm sorry.
Very first item, very last item.
Yeah, the very first item. Oh, that placeholder's not for me. It's not for Yakima County.
Well, nothing's for Yakima County, it's all for Guam. But my point is, you got, plan writing, plan coordination, sort of in two places.
So this one says spend to date 200.
No, I spent or obligated.
And then this one, whether.
Now that has to do with, go ahead, Kurt.
So let me interpret what I think you're trying to say here.
Thank you.
The plan writing is writing of the actual implementation plan. It doesn't, of which the groundwater monitoring part of it is part of it. So don't get those two plan things. They're two separate things. The other thing is, and it'll be a little premature, but I'll bring in the discussion that we'll have after this, is that the document that we'll be discussing earlier is the first of 2 or 3 phases. This basically sets out conceptually the methodology of how we would sample stuff. It doesn't talk about where we're going to sample yet. That has yet to be determined, and that is in that placeholder. So this is just phase 1 of about 3 phases, and the other 2 phases would be accompanied in that placeholder to the part where we need to drill wells. That would come out of there. We need to figure out exactly where this document would be applied as far as well locations and stuff. So that still has to be determined, and that all comes in with that 200.
I just plugged numbers in there from some report we did or looked at months and months ago. I have no ownership of those numbers. I am simply saying there was nothing in the budget to actually develop, we're going to test this well, we need to put a new well in right at this location, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this, and then any money to do it. And whether we want to do that or not is up on the floor.
So any money that would go to the contractor?
Yes,
It would be.
it would most likely, I don't have the expertise to do that.
You know, this is the task that definitely has to go to a contractor.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have anybody on staff that has the ability to do that, Sue. So here's what,
Yeah, any other questions on that one?
Gene?
Is there a way to raise the amount on this if it's necessary? If we learn that we have to do more groundwater testing, have to drill more specific monitoring wells, can we increase this amount?
In the placeholder line?
Yes.
Well, the placeholder, is there any way we can, I'm sorry, repeat your question.
Is there any way, if in the middle of next year, if we run out of money for doing the well water testing, which is probably the most important thing that we're going to do here, is there any way to add more money to this placeholder?
There's always a way to ask for more money. There's no guarantee that we'll get it. I think one of the discussions, let's hypothetically say that we went through this here in a few minutes and we said, absolutely, every one of those things on that list we have got to do. Stick with me for a minute. If we as a group believe we absolutely have to do it and we can't scale it down, we're almost $800,000 short. So if we were in that position, we'd have to go try to find $800,000. Okay, so I can just answer that one. Kurt?
I think we'd be in a lot better position if we were a year from now, after we collected this additional data, got a little bit better understanding, then if necessary, go to the legislature and say, okay, we know this that we didn't know this year, and because of this increased knowledge, we're going to need increased funding to do that. I think we're in a lot better shape going to the legislature with knowledge than going and asking for it now. It would demonstrate that we're actually doing something positive with the money, and here's the basis of why we're asking for this additional amount. And I just know how the legislature works, and that would be received a lot more favorably than thinking that, oh, we need more money now.